Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever looked at a piece of great software and just wondered how it all comes together, feature by perfect feature? Well, I can tell you it's definitely not magic. It's a super structured, really effective process called the Agile Scrum Sprint. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and see exactly how a huge idea gets broken down and built into a finished, high-quality product, one step at a time. So, let's start with the big question, right? How do the absolute best teams create these amazing products time after time? The secret isn't working crazy hours or burning themselves out. It's about working smarter. It's about finding a focused rhythm, a cadence that turns what could be chaos into predictable, steady progress. And that rhythm is exactly what we're going to deconstruct today.
At the very core of this whole process is something called the sprint. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as the heartbeat of the project. It's this consistent, steady pulse that keeps everything moving forward and gives the team real momentum.
So what is a sprint? Well, it's just a short, fixed period of time, we're usually talking 2 to 4 weeks, where the team commits to finishing a specific amount of work. And this idea of a fixed time box is the real game changer here. It creates this repeatable cycle that lets teams deliver actual value to users, get that all-important feedback, and then immediately adapt their plan for the next cycle. It's genius, really.
Okay, but you can't just jump into a sprint with some half-baked idea, right? You need a plan. You need a blueprint. And the key to all this is knowing how to take a massive, ambitious goal and break it down into small, totally manageable building blocks. And believe me, there's a system for this. It all comes down to this breakdown hierarchy. See, at the very top, you've got the epic. That's your big pie-in-the-sky vision. Then you slice that epic up into smaller user stories, which are basically the individual needs of your users. And finally, each of those user stories gets broken down even further into the specific, concrete tasks the team has to actually do. So an epic is that giant feature that is just way too big to tackle in a single sprint. Think of something like build an entire online shopping platform. You're not doing that in 2 weeks. This is your North Star, the big picture goal that you're always working towards. Now, to make that huge, epic something you can actually build, you break it into user stories. And this is a really important shift in thinking. A user story isn't some technical spec. It's a simple explanation of a feature from the user's point of view. It always focuses on the who, the what, and the why, to make sure you're building something people actually want. And here it is, the classic template in action. As a type of user, I want to do something so that I get some benefit. This little structure is so powerful because it forces the team to stay focused on why they're building something in the first place. The goal isn't just to make a product grid. No, the goal is to help a customer save time. That tiny shift from a technical task to a human outcome is everything. It's about building with empathy. Okay. So now we have our user stories, but how in the world do you know how many you can fit into a 2-week sprint? You need a way to measure them, right? But not in hours, in effort. And this brings us to the fascinating art of story points. I mean, think about it for a second. How can you possibly predict, down to the hour, how long it'll take to build something that has never existed before? It's just a guess. And it's often a really inaccurate guess that puts a ton of pressure on people. There's got to be a better way. And the better way is to completely change the question. Instead of asking, how long will this take, we ask, how big is this? And that's where story points come in. They're a relative measure of effort. It's not about time. It's about complexity, the amount of work, and any risks involved. So a simple login page might be a tiny 2-point story, but a complex new checkout system, that could be an 8 or even a 13.
This comparison just nails it. You know, estimating in hours is usually one person's guess about time. But estimating with story points, that's a whole team coming to a consensus about effort. And that simple change sparks these incredibly important discussions, it uncovers hidden problems, and it leads to forecasts that are way more reliable.
So if it's a team consensus, how do they actually land on a single number? This is where a really cool and kind of fun technique comes into play. It's called planning poker. Here's how it goes down. The product owner explains a story. The team talks it over, asking all the tough questions to make sure they get it. Then, everyone secretly picks a card with a story point number on it. And here's the key part. Everyone reveals their card at the exact same time. This brilliant little trick prevents anyone from being influenced by the senior developer or their boss.
If the numbers are way off, the team talks about why and then votes again until they all agree.
And this table shows you exactly why this is so amazing. You have developer A who thinks, oh, this is easy, it's a 2. But then developer B chimes in and says, wait, what about the API validation? And developer C points out a huge risk with a library. It's through that conversation that everyone's understanding gets deeper and they all land on a much more realistic estimate of 5 points, see? The conversation is way more valuable than the number itself.
All right, we've broken down the work, we've estimated it, but there's one last critical step. When someone on the team finally says a task is done, what does that actually mean? To stop any confusion and to guarantee quality, every team needs a crystal clear shared agreement on this.
And that agreement has a name, the definition of done, or DoD for short. You can think of it as a non-negotiable quality checklist. Every single user story has to pass every single item on this list before anyone is allowed to call it complete. It's not just about the code working, it's about delivering a polished, high-quality piece of the product.
And we are not talking about a simple to-do list here. A really solid definition of done is rigorous. It usually includes things like peer code reviews, making sure all the automated tests are passing, updating the documentation, and getting that final sign-off from the product owner. It's a tough quality gate that ensures when something is shipped, it's not just working, it's robust, it's reliable, and it is truly ready for real people to use.
So at the end of the day, the definition of done is the team's public promise of quality. It's the firewall that prevents technical debt, all those messy shortcuts that cause huge problems later on. And maybe most importantly, it builds trust. When the team says something is done, the stakeholders know, without a doubt, that it is truly, completely, 100% done.
And that's the whole journey, from a giant epic, broken down into user-focused stories, sized up by the whole team, and finally finished to a strict definition of done. This entire framework is what allows modern teams to build incredible things with total confidence and consistency. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? Whether you build software or not, what's your definition of done for the work that you do? Thanks for joining me.